have small income differences. And I think we need to be taking our custom to those kinds of companies. So two quite different ways of dealing with this. That's where we finish. The next, well, the end slide is the next one. We've had not enough time to tell you any detail about other outcomes or the causal pathways, but you'll find them in the book, and if you're interested in campaigning, our Equality Trust has some suggestions and links with local groups. I think there's an Australian connection with the Equality Trust. We'd be delighted if people started campaigning there. Well, I know people already are, but we need to do a lot more. This is a long-term campaign. It will take 10, 20 years, and must be combined with thinking about how we make our societies more sustainable. But in terms of the subject of your conference, I think what greater inequality does is increase all the downward prejudices, whether class or ethnicity or whatever, and discrimination against any group who are seen.
We just lost you.
Yes, but I just finished.
Richard, it would be really great for us if you could repeat perhaps the last sentence of your presentation. I think that's where we cut out.
Well, I was saying that in relation to the subject of your conference, what we believe is happening is that in more unequal societies, the status differences matter even more. There are more of all the downward prejudices, whether class prejudice or prejudice against ethnic minorities. We think also prejudice against women. We don't have data on it, but I suspect also discrimination against people with disabilities and so on. You know, we become more status conscious, less affiliative, less cooperative in more unequal societies.
Thank you. Well, that was great.
Yeah, you got the link going in the end.
We're very thankful to both of you, particularly given the late hour over there, and for your
patience. Yes, it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
And that's a commitment to tackling social inequality. If you don't mind, I'll just ask the audience if there's perhaps 1 or 2 questions, and then we can leave you to go to bed. Does anyone have a question? Beth, do you want to come up? We've got a roving microphone, but it might actually be best if you speak into this microphone.
Thanks very much for your presentation. It's very interesting to hear the statistics and the associations pulled out. And my question is really just one about how you infer causation, because what you're doing is really associations at a broad brush level. And I'm just wondering, because as I'm listening, I think, well, there's a whole lot of issues about social composition, for example. Are you dealing with immigration societies or countries that may not be settler societies, that may not have a lot of ethnic diversity and so on? And there could be a few confounding variables in there, and I'm just wondering how you've actually dealt with those issues about how you infer causes.
Several parts of the answer to that. One I think I should stress is that these links, this effect of inequality on our societies, the divisiveness, the social corrosiveness, people have recognised since the French Revolution. All we're saying is that that intuition is true. There's no big causal leap, because basically we're saying that the problems that we know are related to social status within our societies are worse if you increase the social status differentiation in societies. happens to the poorest 10% of the population. But you see, insofar as ethnicity, ethnic mix might contribute to this, and I think in one or two cases perhaps it is a contributor, it's not because people from a different ethnicity are inherently more likely to have teenage births, to be obese, to take drugs, to be more violent. All those things are patterns that we are familiar with, associated with low social status. And it's when skin color or linguistic group or sometimes religious group becomes a marker of low social status and starts to attract the same stigma as low income and so on, that it starts to have the same effect. So it's not a different issue, it's basically the same process involved, whether it does it through ethnic markers of social status or simply through income as a marker of social status.
Can I add one or two things? I think it's also important to point out that the data that we show in our book and the very, very simple analyses which we're using here are backed up by a vast body of literature, particularly on the effects of income inequality on health, where multi-level studies control for individual levels of income or education, where pathway analyses have been done to see whether or not psychosocial explanations do seem to lead from higher levels of income inequality to lower levels of trust or health. There's vast literature on income inequality and crime, and at the moment we have a research fellow working with us who's showing that changes in income inequality lead to the expected changes in crime, sort of fit with the picture we're showing you here. And one of the nice parts about having finished the book and published it is that it is continuing to inspire a lot of research by other people in different disciplines, and almost every day we're receiving notification of papers that are being published, either confirming analyses that we've shown you here today, or adding new pieces of the puzzle. So the picture is building up in a very consistent, coherent way. It's very hard to think of another causal factor that explains the same pattern of data that we've shown you today. No one's yet been able to come up with a single fact that does as good a job of explaining these relationships, which is not to say that other things are not important in the cause of each of these health and social problems, just that inequality seems to be a root cause, an underpinning cause for a whole raft of problems.
Thank you.
Sorry for the long answer.
They were very comprehensive answers, but I think because we are running over time, and because of the technical difficulties, we'll leave it there. So thank you again for your time. So I'd like to invite Helen back up to finish her presentation. I do apologise, Helen, and thank you for the
community of race discrimination in particular. We've also tried to look at it in the context of what are the benefits that equality make to the community broadly in an economic sense. And we've got a document on our website that I can't never remember the name of, but it's pink, and it's called The Economics of Equality. And the third thing that we've been trying to look at is really the benefit that a regulator contributes in terms of its work in an economic sense by trying to reduce discrimination. And we did try to do some work in that regard in relation to the Human Rights Act as well. But what we did manage to do was to pay Access Economics some money to tell us it was really hard to do it, which was true. But I think increasingly